Argentina has been on a lot more people's radar in just the last couple of months. Today I'm going to tell you why and how Argentina is on my list. I'm Andrew Henderson, and this is a new feature that we're doing, hashtag on the list, where we talk about countries that I see opportunities for diversification in, and we talk about what those are, because what we talk about here at Nomad Capitalist is you don't put all your eggs in one basket. There are things about Argentina or any country that are great, and you go and take advantage of those things, but you don't move in lock, stock, and barrel. So let's talk about what interests me. The first is one that's interesting to folks who are making a lot of money in Bitcoin and crypto right now, and that is Argentina is, in a somewhat confusing way, trying to welcome crypto. They did open it up to be used in legal contracts. There was talk about some tax incentives for Bitcoin and cryptos. Then that seemed like that wasn't going to happen, so there's kind of some confusion. But what we do know is there's a positive sentiment with the new president for a number of libertarian-minded things, but in particular, cryptocurrencies. So that's a positive thing. I like a positive culture. I like a culture that's thinking in the right direction. My complaint, as you've heard for years about the US and a number of other big Western countries, is that they're slipping. There's more competition. People don't make as much money. The politicians don't have quite as much power, and they're going to respond by hitting you harder. They don't want to be competitive, whereas a place like Argentina, new president wants to be competitive, wants you to go. So whether it's crypto or just in general, I like that culture. Another thing that I like is we've been working on hiring in Argentina. So people know us a lot for our presence in Eastern European countries, in the Balkans, in the Caucasus, in that area. But due to a diversifying client base, we work with folks from all over the world. People know us perhaps as me being from the US. We work with Americans. We work with a lot of other people now. And we diversified into Latin America. I said, look at the big four countries. Obviously, Brazil is Portuguese speaking, so that's a little bit different. Mexico, Colombia, and Argentina. And what I love about Argentina is for hiring, and ostensibly this could be if you wanted to live there, which we'll talk about in a minute. This could be for you to trade your stocks or run your business back in North America if that's where you're from. But the time zone is perhaps one of the best time zones because at GMT -3, we can have those folks work with Europe. We can have those folks work with North America. So you're always within like 3 to 4 hours pretty much, maybe 5 hours from Los Angeles to like Istanbul. So you have this great flexibility, which is something that a lot of our clients mention. It's why a lot of clients don't want to go to a country like Malaysia or Thailand, for example, if their business is in North America, or again, if they're trading North American markets, unless they're like some of my friends who just love going to bed at 5 in the morning, Asia's not going to work. So you've got this great time zone that is flexible. And so we've looked at hiring there. And we've had some great people. You have people who are very, very talented, very well educated, decent English. Some of them have European passports. There's a lot of folks of like Italian descent, for example, there. And so people were able to go back and claim their Italian passport. And so the Argentine passport is very strong. If you want them to come to Nomad Capitalist Live in Kuala Lumpur, that's coming up this September. They can do that. I mean, Argentina passport's welcomed pretty much everywhere. But if you need someone, I generally don't need this, but if you need someone to go to the United States, for example, Argentina passport would need a visa to go there. But if they're Italian, they generally would not. So you have people who are just very well educated. It's very affordable. And so it's very convenient all around. We've really found some very talented people there. And one thing that's just great about Latin America is people are so friendly, people are so helpful. Obviously, it's a big continent, but that's kind of the general perception. And so we've really liked hiring there. The other thing is I personally don't live in Argentina. I don't spend a lot of my time in the Americas in general. We're here in Colombia. I'm here for a couple weeks a year. But obviously, Buenos Aires is a beautiful city. You have some second-tier cities, which are nice. You have a lot of rural area, which is the beauty of South America in general. You have a lot of rural areas. You have flexibility to own property that you couldn't own in a place like Asia. And so Doug Casey has always talked to us about, in Argentina, I don't think he spends as much time there anymore, but I always felt like I'm just the wealthy foreigner they kind of leave alone. If you don't get in our way, do your thing. And so the quality of life there for the money is very high. I mean, you've got, beautiful cities, beautiful rural areas, probably my favorite wines in Latin America. Obviously not a tax-friendly place to live. We'll see what the new president does. So let me talk about the things that you maybe shouldn't use Argentina for. If you're going to live there full-time, you're going to have a tax issue. The taxes are not low. Again, maybe there's some incentives that come in. A lot of Argentines will move next door to Uruguay, where they have a 10 or essentially 11-year tax holiday. So Argentina, I think, is much more exciting of a place to live than Uruguay. And theoretically, you could live in Uruguay and then come over to Argentina for a little bit less time, and you could manage that tax residence. That's something we do for our clients. We have tax experts, and we put all the pieces together multi-jurisdictionally to where, okay, do you want to be tax resident in Uruguay? You can move to Uruguay. You can get your taxes down for the next decade to pretty much zero. They welcome you. Please come buy a house and don't pay taxes. And then you're right there. You could cross over and spend a decent chunk of your remaining time in Argentina. You want to make sure you plan that correctly, that you don't fall into Argentina's tax net as well. But and by the way, what's cool about Argentina is that citizenship is issued through kind of a civil law system. So ostensibly, you don't have to spend all your time in the year in Argentina to be granted citizenship. The downside of that is that Argentina, I guess there are a handful of cases for people who've been naturalized in Argentina to perhaps be able to renounce citizenship. It's generally a place where you don't renounce your citizenship. So if something bad happens, I'm not convinced that anything terrible is going to happen that Argentina is going to chase you all around the world for. But anyway, going back to the challenge in Argentina, it's not a tax-friendly country. What's good about it is you can spend a decent amount of time there, more than you could spend in Germany, for example, without triggering tax residence, especially if you're not from there. And so it's a more flexible tax system. But if you are spending the majority of your time there, you are going to have a bad tax position. Obviously, I mentioned the citizenship is a great one to get. If you do live in Argentina, even if you're not there full-time, potentially you could get citizenship. But the citizenship is not as strong in terms of if you ever wanted to get rid of it. Not sure that would be an issue, but who knows? I mean, obviously it has its history of problems. The other thing is banking. Not a place I'm banking. I want to remind you, and for people moving to Latin America, there's often some confusion. Maybe get a bank account to pay some bills, because I do think that the Argentine peso is not as well supported through some of the money transmission systems. But that's what I'm generally doing in almost any Latin American country. We do have a couple banks in Uruguay that work with non-residents if you're at $50,000 to $100,000 level, and you generally need to go there. There's a remote process, but eventually you need to go there. So those are two banks that work with in Uruguay. That's where I would be banking if I wanted nearby banking in Latin America. Obviously, a lot of folks from Latin America, their bank is in Miami. So you could do that. You can keep your banking in the U.S., including if you're a U.S. Taxpayer. You can bank in the U.S., not a big deal. If you don't want to bank in the U.S., then you're probably banking somewhere else, whether it's in Europe or Singapore or maybe somewhere in the Caribbean, one of the high-level jurisdictions. But I'm not banking in Argentina, unless it's just I have a couple bucks to pay some local bills. So the bottom line, Argentina is on my list. We're looking at it from a business perspective. I think it's interesting because we serve a lot of folks who have some crypto and folks who are all in on crypto or Bitcoin. And so it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. It's a move in the right direction to be more open to emerging technologies and new stuff that shows a positive vibe. It's good in terms of hiring people. We're bullish on that. It's good if you want a place perhaps for your trifecta where you spend 4 months a year in 3 different places. Buenos Aires or one of the smaller cities could be a fit for that. Nice life, nice wine. It's one reason I always like going to Georgia. Some of the best wine in the world. I think Argentina has good wine. But the problems are banking. The problems are taxes for full-time residents. The problems are if you get citizenship, which is obviously if you're spending time in a country, always something that you want to look forward to, something that you don't get in Asia, but you do get in a lot of other countries. If you're actually spending time in a country, you can be naturalized. That's something that for some people is a turnoff. The idea that renouncing citizenship is generally not possible. Keep in mind, if you give birth in Argentina, your child is Argentine by birth, that's going to be pretty much impossible for them to renounce. And you can get immigration benefits for being the parent of that child. Same thing in Brazil, same thing in a number of other Latin American countries. So Argentina is of interest, again, more from a business perspective for me. If you decided to live there, you want to make sure you take the parts that work and that serve you. They make the tax laws, so you can choose to spend a lot of time and pay them, or you can choose to spend a little bit less than the amount of time needed to trigger taxes and not pay. I think that the new president would be happy for you to go and spend money there. It's not difficult to get a residence permit. You just have to show that you have some money. But again, you want to be cognizant that where you live may not be where your residence permit is. Probably isn't where your citizenship is. Certainly isn't where you want to bank. I'm not saying to go invest in Argentine stocks. I'm not saying to invest in a local business in Argentina. I'm saying opportunities for hiring, opportunities for high quality of life for part of the year. and possibly opportunities for a high quality passport if it's something that you like. That's why Argentina is on the list at Nomad Capitalist. And I'll tell you this, we just did a big R&D project down there. We have people from Argentina. We have people from other countries in that region. Talk to all the banks. Yeah, you cannot get a bank account. And again, you shouldn't get a bank account unless you live there. So you get a residence permit, then you go and get the bank account. You need like 1 peso or something. It's pretty easy. But we have full-time people in South America researching every option that's available, including some very exotic options, including fast-track citizenship options that may be available to people who invest larger amounts in the country. That's not stuff you're going to find in an expat group. That's not stuff you're going to find on a blog. That's not stuff you're going to find even from most attorneys in the country who just process people like a mill. What we do at Nomad Capitalist is help people figure out all the opportunities. There's a lot of other countries in South America that are worth considering. We're not here just promoting Argentina. We help people with literally dozens and dozens and dozens of countries, some for residence, some for banking, some for citizenship, some for any number of things. So if you have $1 million liquid net worth, or if you earn $500,000 a year or more, and you'd like someone to show you how to lower your taxes, how to get second residence and citizenship to protect yourself, how to find better lifestyle opportunities, buy property overseas, diversify your cash, protect your assets, we are the single multi-jurisdictional, all-in-one solution with access to all the professionals on the ground. You get it all in one package. NomadCapitalist.com/apply is where you go to learn more about that. And listen, some of you are going to call and we're going to say, you know what, for your particular situation, Argentina may not be the best. I'm telling you why it works for me. If you work with us, we tell you what works for you. It's a human approach and it's a strategic approach. If you want to learn more, go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply and get access to our research on dozens of countries around the world and how you can put that to work for you.